Welcome to Podnutz Pro, episode number 20, the show where we help you take the step from residential computer support into small business, enterprise, in that direction. And it's a big step, and things are very different from one camp to the other, so that's what we're here to help you do. A lot of guys who listen to Podnutz, they start with the residential and they move up. Other guys go straight into small business. Some guys never go into small business. It doesn't matter. Listen to this show. I'm sure you get something out of it if you're into computers and tech. Let me introduce the guest co-hosts, not guest hosts, co-hosts of the show, the guys that bring the goods. Matt Rainey from ah-computers.com. Yo, Matt.
Hey, Steve.
What's happening?
Oh, same old. Busy.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Good
But that's good.
Yeah, it is good. I like to hear when people are busy.
I love dealing with computer illiterate people.
It was like dealing with most of the world then.
Yes.
Yes, I love it.
I love the sarcasm in Matt's voice. Lalo Nunez from BetterPCTech.com. Hey, Lalo.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Not bad at all. How about you?
I'm outstanding for a Wednesday. It means it's 2 days away from Friday.
That's awesome. All right. Like I said, we hit the IT hard, and we try to show you different tips and tricks and techniques about getting into small business and business support in general. Matt, what do you want to talk about this week?
The first thing I want to talk about is something I heard on Podnutz Daily 305, and it was with Jason. And I'm not sure how many people that listen to Podnutz Daily listen to Podnutz Pro or vice versa, but he talked about Computingcom. And
is that company too good to be true or what?
Well, okay, the company itself seems fine. The product seems like a good product. I don't have a problem with the product. What I want to clear up is the licensing statements that he made. He said one of the best parts about this is that you could have 15 people and you only needed to buy one copy of Windows, one copy of Office, and so on. And that is not true at all. Okay. I see this a lot in companies or somebody that sets up something like this, because the licensing for Microsoft, it is confusing. And just because something works doesn't mean that it's licensed. In fact, if you go to the incomputing.com website,
I'm there.
Okay, so you click on products. Let's just pick the X Series PCI.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing this at home, click on that. Under the Get Started on the top left, you'll see MS licensing information. If you click on that, it'll tell you in here, you've got to have licenses for this. So if you have 10 users using this, you have to have 10 licenses.
Oops. Go ahead. I have Mary's name up there for some reason. Let me get that out. Keep going, Matt. Mary
agrees with me.
Yes, agree.
Okay. So in here, it says quite clearly for applications where multiple interactive users are simultaneously sharing a single operating system, standard Microsoft Windows Server licensing applies. This means that the shared host computer or virtual machine runs a Microsoft Windows Server operating system. So one, they're saying you've got to be running server for this. Now, it may work with Windows 7 or Windows XP, but licensing dictates you have server licensing. And then below that, it's going to tell you that you have to have your client access licenses, your remote desktop licenses, your Office licenses. You have to still license it for how many people that you are using this system with. So I just want to clear that up. And it becomes a problem when I go someplace and I want to get them legal, and I find that they may have 50 users and one copy of Office. Now, yes, it can run 50 times, especially the older versions. Now you have to activate it, so it's a little harder unless you get a enterprise key code from a friend who goes to some college, and you can load that 50 times. Yes, you can do it. It's against licensing. And when I try and get somebody licensed and tell them how much it costs to get legal, they have a breakdown pretty much.
Huh.
Why do I have to do this? It works. Yes, it works. But I explained to them the legalities of it, their license agreement. They could get fined, and I'm not the software police.
Right.
I'm not going to report them. But their biggest threat comes from a disgruntled employee who's going to leave, and that person will report them.
Thank you. Yes. And I hear it all the time when I'm listening to the radio, even when I listen for advertising for different podcasts, they'll say, "Are you an angry employee? Is your company illegally running a software?" Some people will do it for every world. I can't say that word. Whatever. Or like Matt saying, people just do it because they're angry because they got fired. I've seen it happen where what they get, and I've been audited because someone called me about my company, so I had to prove on my licensing, and so it's not a nice experience to go through.
I would want to be in that situation. So it's better to avoid it and be legit.
Exactly.
And I'm glad that the in computing people made this so easy to find, because I went to their website and I thought they have got to have some kind of licensing statement on their site so people know that they still have to buy licensing. It was pretty easy to find right through the whole section.
No, you were looking for it. You were looking for it. I don't think it's that easy to find, to be honest.
No. When I clicked on I clicked on the product, and right there, getting started, I see ICMS licensing information. I mean, that just caught my eye right away.
Okay.
So now all the things he mentions about centralized program, you load the program once, that's all great. And the benefit of this is to centralize that, so you don't have to load the program 17 times on 17 workstations.
Right.
You don't have to worry about the desktop computers. You put this whole thing in and you run. All that's great. It saves you, and it might not even save you a total cost on hardware, because the server you're going to put in probably is going to cost as much or almost as much as 17 cheap desktops, because these servers have to have enough power to run smoothly to be able to have a good experience for the users. So I just want to talk about the licensing real quick. I don't want to talk about it too much right now, but I just wanted people to know you still have to have licensing for this stuff.
All right. Thanks for clearing that up.
Anything to add, Lalo? Did I miss anything?
No, with licensing is very important, and it does cost money. It is a pain to tell people that they need to pay so many for 25 copies of Office, or 40 copies of Windows. It has to get done. Then in a bigger environment where you have a couple thousand PCs, it gets even more complicated, where the environments I have been at, they actually call it a Microsoft rep, and they scan your network, and that's where you get a volume, a license. But I mean, to wrap your head around licensing is very confusing. But, like Matt said, you got to be a legit, because if you need that support, you got a problem, you better have a license, a copy.
Good point. Keep your nose clean.
Yeah, it doesn't do me. It's not doing me any good to have clients with unlicensed software. It doesn't benefit me in any way, and it's only going to hurt them. And if they come in and Microsoft audits them, it could come down to me and saying, why didn't you license these guys? So I have it documented clearly with emails and communications that I'm told them they need to become licensed. So if it ever happens, I'm covered.
There you go.
So, and if it's really bad, I'll tell a customer we can't support them if they don't get licensed legally. So if it's bad. So,
cool.
So we had an email about a suggestion for a show topic, and I just bumped it right to the top above all my other show ideas that I have.
Guys? You get what you want. All you got to do is ask. It's pretty amazing, right?
Mm-hmm. In fact, Matt has sent me an email the minute he bumped it up, so that's when I knew he was pumped up.
We escalated it.
And it was submitted by Mary, I believe it. Now I'm playing.
I don't remember who submitted it, actually. But the topic was, they wanted to know how we handled remote administration. And it's pretty simple, but I'm going to tell you how I do remote administration and how it comes in handy. Most of my day is spent doing remote administration. The other techs that I have, I'll do what I can remotely. I'll schedule things. I'll connect to computers. If it requires an on-site visit, I'll usually send one of my techs, because I can do more. I can have 3, 4, 5 remote connections going at once. So I'm more productive doing that and sending my techs out on site if needed.
Okay.
And there's two methods that I use most. It's Logmein Rescue and RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol.
Okay.
And that's the two things that I use. Now, I use them a little bit differently depending on the situation. Logmein Rescue, and Logmein Rescue does cost money. I think it's around $1,200 a year, so it's not free. But
see, that usually comes to a shocker for people using Logmein because they're so used to getting it for free.
Well,
but
and
it's a legit, this is a business service, so
it is. And Logmein Free is fine. Logmein Free is licensed for business use, so just to make that clear, you can use it in business. It's not against their licensing terms to use it in businesses. And the reason is it's just not as powerful as Logmein Rescue. You don't have certain features, and you can go on the site, and there's links to compare the two, so you can know which one does what. So, but Logmein Rescue, $1,200 a year per license. It comes down to about $90 a month. I pay for that month in. If I get to work at 8 o'clock in the morning, if I have to cover $90 a month, I cover my Logmein Rescue bill for that month in about the first hour that I'm at work. Because maybe the first half an hour, because I might have 2 or 3 calls that I need it.
Right.
And I bill for that. That's an hour right there. So that more than pays for my month for Logmein Rescue. So it pays for itself when doing business. So
makes sense.
And yeah, there's a good point in here. That's the price for that is what's on the website. If you call Logmein,
you can negotiate.
You can negotiate, and they will knock it down if you mention the cost as a factor. So keep that in mind. You can call. They're not above bartering or haggling for your price. So that's the MSRP, which
MSRP.
Nice. That's a good tip. It's a good tip.
Yeah, and they have monthly plans, and this is a yearly plan, but they can work with you. They'll work with you a lot. If you say, I want a monthly plan, but I don't want to pay that price for the month, they'll work with you. They'll give you the year price, whatever they're going to offer you, and they'll just break it up into monthly payments for you. So you don't have to shell out $1,200 at once for this. Huh. You can go and pay monthly and work with them on that. So I use Logmein Rescue mainly for desktop support. And I use it for when I want to see what a client is doing, or I want them to see what I'm doing, because we can both see the same screen.
Right.
They tell me I can't email this person. It bounces back every time. I connect. I can see what they're like. I say, show me what you're doing. And that's the first thing when I connect, show me what you're doing. You drive, you click, you go. And from what they're doing, I can show, no, do this instead. You type in the address in wrong, as you can see. That's why the bounce back comes back and says unknown user or whatever. But anyway, it's for when I want to see what they're doing. I also use it, well, and if I need to reboot a machine into safe mode with networking, I'll use this. Because with RDP, when I can remotely reboot a computer in RDP into safe mode with networking, that's not an issue. The issue is when you do that, the terminal services, the things that run remote desktop, the services don't start.
So RDP is built into Windows?
Yes.
Okay.
Professional versions, XP Pro, Vista Business and Ultimate, okay. Windows 7.
So you use Logmein Rescue when you got to.
I use Logmein Rescue for most things because okay. It's quicker for just a client to call me. I say, go to my website, put this code in, we're on. Okay.
Right. What Logmein Rescue does, if, like Matt said, a client goes to a website and you give them a code, I think it's 6 or 8 the characters, installs, I think it's active as control, and then you can see what the user is doing. I've used it before. Every job that I've been at, they actually have paid for that for several licenses, and that's how we can get to any user at any time.
Very cool.
And I can start this service. I can start the connection as a service, so I can log in, log out log in as a different user. When I reboot, I'm connected back before the login screen even comes up.
Mm-hmm.
I can reboot in the safe mode with networking. I can do a lot of things with it. So sometimes I have to boot in the safe mode with networking, so I've got to use Logmein Rescue for that. And I tested that. I don't know how many people have actually tested it, but you can't connect to a computer running safe mode with networking using RDP. And I've tried it. The services just don't start. And of course, you can use msconfig. I had to do this the other day. Some people just can't press F8 when their computer's booting up.
Yep, I agree.
I'm not sure why. The F8 key is elusive.
Oh, it's all about timing. It's all about timing.
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
It is. Yes. So for those people who can't find the F8 key, you can, of course, go to msconfig. There's a boot tab in there. You can select the type of boot as safe with networking and just tell it to reboot. They don't have to press a key. It just reboots in a safe mode with networking for them if you need to. That's there. But
Gotcha.
you can't connect to it remotely.
Got it.
Now, I also sometimes, now with Logmein Rescue, I can have as many unattended access computers as I want. They used to have a limit. Now, there's no limit. So any server I want, I can load unattended access on it and log into it that way, as opposed to RDP.
Right.
I don't really use that too much because I can just use RDP.
Exactly. And if I can say something about Logmein real quick, I bet a bunch of people at home say, don't you cover a Logmein in your videos? I sure do. What Matt's talking about in a business environment where you have a couple hundred users, you have a solution like this instead of installing the Logmein free client on the desktop. Also, what Matt is saying, if you go to like the website, you'll see a lot of the features that the Logmein Rescue offer that the Logmein free does not. I do cover Logmein in my videos, and I simulate the automation of the Logmein free software, so you don't have to walk a user and say, put in this ID or put in this password to have the customer create an account. So that's why I cover in the videos. I automate the whole install where it just attaches the PC to your account. But keep in mind what Matt's talking about in a business environment, you always have a solution like this or very similar to this, especially in environments we have a couple hundred, a couple thousand PCs.
Yeah.
So I wanted just to make that clear.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't have, if I had a list of all the computers I would have to connect to with Logmein, and it wouldn't be accurate because the computers, Mary has this computer, she gives a new one, she gives it to Bob. They don't usually rename the computer, so the computer still may be named Mary,
Right.
but it's not Mary's, now it's Bob's. And Mary has something that's called OEM 743289 HP4, you know, something that if we didn't install, they just put it in, they have that default name. So that's not very reliable, and I'm not going to scroll through a list of thousands of computers which is what it would be if I did that. So, and they also want to know that they have to click on something to let me in, because I get a lot of questions of, can you just get on my computer whenever you want? And I tell them, yes, but not this way, because I can log into any computer I want. I'm the administrator. But I tell them as we're doing it, you've got to go to this website. You've got to click this link. You've got to put this number in. You've got to allow the connection. I said, there's steps you have to take on your end to allow me to connect. So no, I can't connect this way whenever I want.
Now, does Logmein Rescue offer reports? What I mean by that, with Logmein free, when I would connect to a client and I would invoice them, I would send them the invoice and my work order. And I can go within Logmein free and run a report against that computer that showed me I was logged in for so many hours on this day.
I think it does.
Okay.
I don't use that feature.
Right, and you wouldn't in this type of environment, but I would just be curious if it's still offered that reporting feature.
Yeah, they do have reporting features.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the Logmein Rescue, but they do have products that can track, and they can track all your technicians. So if you had 4 or 5 technician licenses, they could track all of those to see what they did all day long.
Sweet.
So, of course, that's, I'm sure, extra. Of course. Now, the RDP, for most of our access, we do business support. So businesses have business internet connections. And every business internet connection that I've seen, the ISP will give the business a static IP address.
Yes.
But they don't usually offer it. You have to call and request it. Even companies that don't have any services that they're hosting. They don't have an Exchange server. They don't have any services at all. They just a small company, even if it's just one computer or one server. I call and get the static IP address set up because I want to have something I can connect to if I need to. And the better thing about RDP is I don't need any input. If the computer's on, I can connect to it. With Logmein Rescue, I have to have client interaction to connect. So the RDP we use mainly for servers. We get them a static IP address. We connect to the server. Now from there, I can RDP into any computer I want to. And I use this a lot of times. We don't have it very often because I've talked about our protection we have for the network. But when we do have a computer that's infected, and I mean, everybody's seen them lately, they can't get online. When they open up Internet Explorer, they can't browse anywhere. They're redirected. So in that case, I can't have them go to my website and connect through Logmein Rescue because they can't go anywhere. So when this happens, first thing I'll have them do is reboot their computer. And once they reboot, I tell them, don't log in. Just let it sit at the login screen. So from the server, when I'm RDP'd into the server, the way I clean up these infections, I'll go / computer name, which is insert computer name here, /C$. And by default, I'm an administrator. I can access the admin share for the C drive. And what I do from there is I'll delete all the temp files and all the user profiles, Windows temp files. You know, if it's Windows 7 or whatever, I can delete that. Look for suspicious folders in the app data folders, which I'm starting to put in now. I can also connect to the network registry. So I can connect to the registry of that computer and look for things in the startup entries and clean up that way remotely before I log into the computer. After all that is cleaned up, then I'll RDP in. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Before I do that, if I need to download tools, the latest version of Malwarebytes, Combo Fix, Super Anti-Spyware, whatever the tool is, I can copy it across that way too. I can just copy it to the same / computer name / C$. I might make a folder called tools, copy them across to the C drive. So now when I connect to that computer using RDP, my tools are there to install if I need them. So I'll connect. Usually I'll connect first as administrator. When I do that, if I need to, I'll go in the registry. And for those who don't know this, you go into the registry, you do, I think it's file load hive.
Yes.
You browse to the ntuser.dat file in the user's profile who's having the main issue. Usually I just do the main computer user, or the main user for that computer. Load their hive. You can name it whatever you want to name it. I just usually hit the A button, so it's named A. And I'll go into the registry there if I need to, remove all the entries from the startup. And once I'm done that, don't forget to do file unload hive. Because if you don't unload the hive, you won't be able to log in as that user.
Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, if you are familiar with working with the registry, it can be very intimidating. If you're not sure what you're doing, be careful because you can make that PC unbootable. I'm just saying, I've learned the hard way. But after you get familiar with the registry, you'll be surprised that you know where all the startup items are, all the classes. I mean, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, the only thing I usually do in the registry at this point is just look for load the hive,
right.
Windows current version, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Run once, that kind of thing.
Now, do you also export it first before you actually start taking things out?
No.
Okay.
Not when I'm just deleting the stuff from, and that's obvious.
Okay.
Because the things I'm looking for are things like I've got something running from C Windows temp / and it's some crazy long weird string of characters.exe, or
gotcha.
Anything running from the temp folders, anything running from app data. Lately I've seen things running from app data, crazy things, weird strings of characters.exe. Awesome. I'll delete those.
Okay, cool.
Other instances I might, if I'm, well, in this case I don't. So After that's done, unload the Hive. Then I'll start scans, the normal scans, Malwarebytes, super anti-spyware, combo fix if needed. After all that comes back clean, reboot, log in as the user. Hopefully now things aren't popping up like crazy. I can run a few more scans just to make sure it's cleaned up. And that way I'm usually done. Now, in RDP, there's no way, when you go to start, you're going to see log off and disconnect. You're not going to see shut down or restart when you're RDP'd into a computer.
Because they have fooled you.
That's not a server. A server, you'll see it, but a workstation, you won't. Now, that's easy to get around if you need to reboot when you're not getting a prompt. I mean, you'll get a prompt if you load software and it says, I need to reboot. Do you want to reboot now? Yes.
And Matt, I'm sorry. And Matt's about to say my favorite, the command in the whole entire world. Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
Well, which one? I got a few. So, shutdown /R will reboot the computer. Now, if you just do shutdowns of course, from a command prompt, so start, run, CMD, command prompt, shutdown /R reboots the computer. If you don't use any other options, it'll give that standard computer will shut down in 30 seconds thing. Now, if you wanted to abort that, you can do shutdown /A to abort the shutdown within that 30 seconds. I usually do shutdown /R /T for a time and like 02 or 01, which says basically reboot in 2 seconds.
Right.
So I don't want to wait 30 seconds. That's just ridiculous.
Now, I also include the -F. And what the -F is, have you ever, let's shut down, look at PC and it hangs and it says it's waiting to close? The -F will automatically close all those applications because
nice.
Some machines will just, Word is waiting to close, bar. But if you hit that -F, it's just going to kill it.
Nice.
Yeah, so the force. Now, one other interesting thing I've done, let's say I'm on the server and I need to reboot a computer, but I can't log into it. For some reason, RDP is not responding. I can't do anything else, and the user says they can't reboot it because they're users. So if I know the computer name, which is easy to find in other methods, if you do shutdown /I from a computer, you'll get a GUI interface that you can use to shut down computers. And this is nice because you can just type in the reasons, or first type in the computer name. What do you want to do? I can restart, shut down, or annotate unexpected shutdown. I can warn the action, which is that 30-second warning, or I can not warn them. So you can reboot a computer if needed with a shutdown /I if you want a nice little GUI interface. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on why the computer is not rebooting in the first place. But I've tried it a few times when I've needed it, and it worked. So
yes, and I go about it a little bit of a different way because I just love the command line. If you've ever heard of SysInternals, they have a great set of tools. I use PC exec, so I do PC exec / a computer name and CMD. What this will do is open up the command prompt from the machine on my bots. Then I do task list on one word, showing me all of the running processes. A lot of time, like Matt's saying, if it's some type of funky, the program that shouldn't be running, I can run task kill /something /IM, then the name of the process, and it'll kill that process and remotely. And if you look at those processes enough, like I have for years, you can kind of eyeball within a few seconds and say, that's normal, that's normal, that's normal, that's not. So, and then through the command line, you can do other things too, like shut down the machine and also restart. So it's the same thing that Matt's doing. I just do it from the command line because I can just do it just a little bit quicker because I know the commands. But point of me even speaking right now, SysInternals, if you don't know what it is, go check it out. Powerful tools.
Nice.
Now, sometimes I also need to connect to the console of a computer. I'm sorry, to a server. So let's take an example. I've got a computer, a network that has 3 servers. I've got default RDP going to one of the servers. Now, I could RDP into that one because that's where the default port is going to, or I can, and then from there I could connect RDP to another server. But sometimes I need to like Control Delete. If you're gonna do Control Delete when you're in RDP, it's actually Control Alt End. So if you can Control Alt End, it sends a Control Alt Delete to the remote computer in RDP. But if I'm RDP'd into, let's say, a terminal server, and then from there into the SBS server, if I do Control Alt End, it sends the Control Alt Delete to the terminal server, not the small business server. In some cases, that's not what I want to do. If I need to connect to consoles of computers, if they have small business server, you've got Remote Web Workplace. So that's a public address that you're going to go to, and it's defined when you set up the site. And then from there, you can log in and connect to any computer. It's actually got an option saying connect to client computers. Click on that. When you click on that, you can check a box to connect to the console, which is useful for servers, because there may be error messages on the console only. And when I RDP into it, I'm getting another session, not the console session.
Okay.
Now, if I want to, is also the MSTSC is the command for remote desktop. If you do MSTSC/console, you can also connect to the console that way.
Okay.
That's just a different switch to use RDP if I wanted the RDP. I also got Remote Web Workplace, which is something different. That's a whole nother show. But the Remote Web Workplace is good to use if you want to connect to computers and you don't feel like RDPing all around the world.
Okay.
But that's mainly what we use for, and there's so many different ways to do remote support. There's VNC, there's Logmein Free, there's TeamViewer, there's all kind of applications, but that's just what we use. And I'm not saying mine was the best way. The question was, what do we use? So that's answering that question.
Nope.
So
No, and I totally agree. And since that the HP days, we use remote desktop to the fullest. Other third-party remote applications we've used, like Dameware, we've used a Crosstech, we've used the VNC. Again, a lot of times you'll find out when you go to these small businesses, it's whatever technician at the time decided to buy. So, some have advantages over the others, but they all serve the same purpose pretty much. But worst case, use RDP. It's free if you know how to manipulate the bots. If you can work the command line, like Matt's saying, you can shut down and reboot. So life is definitely easy. If you have a business that has several servers, I haven't played with small business, but I've been to sites that have 2 or 3 servers and they do have a static public IP. What I would do is change the the port for RDP. So I'll believe server 1 is 3389, which is the default port. Then I'll make the second box. I'll change it within the registry to 3390, and then change like the third one to 3391. Or if you do the remote desktop console, you can actually add multiple RDP connections to the same window. So if you have like one place had 14 servers, so I had just one console, and then I just picked the server I wanted to connect through, and then it kept it in the same window.
Nice.
Now, I don't usually change the listening port anymore. If I've got 3 servers and I want to set up RDP into a direct server without going one to the other, what I'll usually do is I'll leave them all 3389.
Okay.
And in the router, I'll put one is 3389 going to whichever server. That's the default one. That's what, if I've got users connecting, I want them to go to the terminal server, I'll leave that there. I'll do one that's 3390. And in the router, say if it's coming from 3390 on an external port, send it to 3389 on the internal port to this IP.
Yes.
So it keeps it all 3389. And the reason I do that is because some people, and this is the most common situation, I've got somebody who's got a Windows computer in the office, but they have a Mac at their house. So a Mac, since they're not running Internet Explorer, can't use Remote Web Workplace because they can't load ActiveX controls. So for those users, I'll give their computer inside the office a reservation. so they always get the same IP. And I'll leave it 3389, but the Mac has to use remote desktop protocol to connect in. So I'll make 3395, whatever number I feel like having around there, and I'll redirect from 3395 to 3389 internal. So from their Mac, they would connect to the public address colon 3395. And the benefit of that is remote web workplace will still work if it needs to, because if I change the listening port internally on a computer, the computer will show up in the list of computers to connect to in remote web workplace, but it just won't connect.
I got you. Okay.
Because it's not on the right port.
Cool.
And I get a lot of calls, especially from other tech or other business that we've just started. And of course, one thing I don't do when I start supporting a new business is check all the listening ports. There'd be too many things to check if that was included on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the symptom is when they click on it, they can't connect. And of course they say it's always worked before.
Right.
But it couldn't because the listening port's not right. So that's usually why I don't change listening ports internally. That way the Mac works, so RDP works, and remote web workplace works. So that's what I do for alternate ports for RDP.
Right, and then now when I did change the port, I would keep a batch file in the root of C that imported a registry key to put it back to 3389. So in the event I forgot what port that I put it as, I would just run the batch file, reboot the box, and then it'll be back on 3389. So, but what Matt's saying, changing port, I did it because I was quite comfortable in doing it. Is that common practice? Probably not, because of the reasons that he spoke about. So
cool.
But it can be done. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Just be careful. Thanks.
Now, some people think that it's a security risk to connect RDP, to leave it open to the world. My answer to that is, if you have good passwords, it's not a security risk. Some clients, if they don't need RDP, I will, in the router, only allow my office's IP address to connect using RDP, just so no one in the world can do it. And that's only if no one at their office uses RDP. But that's not very common because most of my clients want RDP access. Even if they have remote web workplace, they for still some reason, and it's more and more popular from a Mac, people connect from their iPads or whatever else, they can't load ActiveX controls. They want to use an RDP client. Mm-hmm. So we can't usually lock that down. We've got to have secure passwords, so that's how we handle that. And I warn them, it's up to them. This goes back to the password policy. We set the password policy in the server, so I know it's got to be at least 7 or 8 characters. I know it's got to be complex, and I know it changes. So I know it's got to be complex. They may write it down and tape it to their iPad cover, who knows, but the password itself is secure. If they keep it secure, that's their issue. Yes, some clients do. So when you RDP, you usually RDP to the public IP address. So if whatever their public IP address is, that's what they RDP to. I do offer a VPN, and we've talked about VPNs a little bit before.
Right.
But it's an extra layer. Some clients don't want to pay the licensing. We use WatchGuards. So if they want to have a VPN back to the WatchGuard, they've got to buy mobile user VPN licenses. Mm-hmm. And what that does, they start that. It creates a VPN tunnel from their machine to the network. Then they can RDP in using the private IP address. A lot of clients don't want to do this because they don't want to pay the licensing costs and they don't want to have the extra step. So it all depends on the client of how you're going to set up remote access. And this is different. And this is a little bit different than how we do remote administration, but it's remote access for customers.
Right, and what Matt's saying is exactly right. If you want a secure way of doing it, you connect to a VPN. Once you're connected, then at that point you use the internal IP address. But you better be ready to show and support your users how to connect to a VPN, because it's not as easy to the average user because there's extra steps that have to be done. And that's the caveat, along with the licensing, along with all the other stuff involved. But yes, in best practice, that's what you want. Also, keep in mind when you go through a VPN, it's a little bit slower. Why? Because you got encryption, because you got like a tunnel. So all that traffic going back and forth is encrypting it. So.
Yeah, and that's a whole show of itself, the VPN and terminal servers versus RWW and RDP. But we have clients that have VPNs, that use VPNs for the past 5 years. You think it's almost ingrained. When they open their computer, they start the client, it connects. But inevitably, every week, a client calls saying they can't access the website. I connect to their computer using Logmein, show me what you're doing. They open the website link. And I say, well, you didn't start the VPN client first. Oh, I forgot about that. They do this every day, but it's going to happen. If you have that extra step, they will just one day completely forget that they have to start the VPN client first.
I would even make little batch files and shortcuts that would say out of the office. And I would tell them, when you are not in the office, you hit this one shortcut. And what the batch file was, we used a Cisco VPN clients. I just used the command line and parameter to push everything through. It would launch the VPN client. Once they're connected, it would launch the corporate homepage. People still would not click that icon. I'm like, did you hit out of the office? Oh, is that what it's for?
Yeah.
Is that what it's for?
But that's most of my time, and that's why I do most of my work remotely, because we've got calls coming in constantly. Most of them are 5-minute fixes. And that's usually what I do, now that we're trying to restructure and optimizing people's time. I stay in the office. I knock out all these quick fixes and things that I can do remotely and send the text out when needed. And I'm never going to complain. I don't complain that they call when they forget to start the VPN client, because it's billable. And I don't mind if you're going to forget. I'll do it every day. But when they complain, they're going to complain about that bill. They're going to. Why did I get charged for a phone call when all the problem was to start the VPN client? Well, we have to go into the whole spiel. We're a service company. You weren't able to connect. You called us. We connected. We resolved your problem. We showed you again how to do it. You're able to connect. So you called us for help because you couldn't connect. Now you can connect. Problem is solved. But I don't complain. They usually pay the bills, or they do pay the bills, or they're not a customer anymore. But you just have to get used to it. Doing business support, you're going to get these calls, and any layer you add, like a VPN, to start before they and if they've been using RDP for a year, and now you add this layer, that's even more they're going to forget, because it's not in their habit. But it happens, so it's billable. If you're doing business support, don't complain about it.
It is billable. I'll tell you something that one of the presidents I used to work for had told me, and he goes, "If I knew what I was doing," and he paused, he goes, "you would not have a job now, would you?" I said, that is very true. So, I mean, and that, it's funny, but that always stuck with me. People are paying for your services. Like Matt saying, if he didn't show that user how to connect to that VPN, I'm pretty sure they still wouldn't be unconnected. So, I mean,
good point.
That's the way the world goes round and round.
Serious.
And up and down.
Yeah, most of the business support is complete. You have the issues with servers that you got to set up. You have Exchange that we set up. All this high-level stuff that the user is not really seeing. And once that's done, the business support usually is pretty mundane. Forgot passwords. And it's usually user error. That's what most of my day comes from. It's not complex things about, I've got to sniff the network traffic because somebody's saying this computer's slow. And it's not all that stuff. It happens once in a while.
We wish.
Right. It happens. You've got to know how to handle that, but that's not the day-to-day support you're doing for businesses. It's just not.
I would have to agree. Again, I work in a big environment with about 4,000 users, and much of it is mundane. Because people seem to make the same mistake over and over again. Very the few times it's all this stuff in movies, but Matt is saying but the truth.
Awesome, guys. Any more, Matt, or should we go to emails?
Yeah, we can go to emails.
Okay, we got about 6 of them here.
And Steve's gonna read them in Spanish. I'm pumped up.
Yes, I just learned Spanish just for this show. Uno email. No, Will. This is from Will. Says, "Hey guys, we used cached exchange mode exclusively because it actually speeds up our it speeds up our user experience with Outlook and Exchange for our desktops. For laptops, it's required to set up Outlook in cached mode so they can open their email when not connected to our network. With traveling salespeople, it is essential that they be able to access their current email while on the road and away from a working network connection. For example, they may be on an airplane and need to read and reply to email, or they're in a country that has excessive data charges for any air cards or Wi-Fi. The only drawback I found with cached mode is that it may take 20 to 40 seconds for a new email to appear in their inbox. This is due to the polling that happens from Outlook and the push from Exchange. One quick tip on finding mailbox/OET sizes. On your left-hand pane, you'll either see mailbox, your username, or mailbox-your username, or you will see your email address at yourdomain.com. That's in quotes. Right-click on either mailbox or your email address. Left-click on Properties or Data File Properties. That's Outlook 2010. In the bottom left, you will see a button called Folder Size. Click on that button. You will have 2 tabs, Local Data and Server Data. There will be a line that says Total Size. I think this shows you the same thing that Matt said, but it's a slightly quicker way to access the file size of the OST. Also, this process is the same whether you have Outlook 2003, 7, or 2010. Enjoy. That is from Will, from willthecomputerguide.com.
Yeah, that is a quicker way to access. It is the same thing, but that is much quicker to access that. I like that.
Cool.
Now, the cached exchange mode, that is designed to reduce the writes back and forth between the client and the server. That's the whole purpose of it. And the only people that it should be used for is people who don't have a constant connection on the network. So people who are going on the road, people who are going to those places that he mentioned.
Right, exactly. And I think the show that we had covered, Matt, you had stated that most of your issues came from those desktops on the wire that use cache exchange mode.
And mainly the ones that have large OST files on the network. They build up, and it actually starts to degrade the performance. But people roaming who don't have connections, yes, they're the ones who need it. But I would recommend that they keep their OST file size down by archiving out to a PST, keep them to a reasonable size, because I've seen it happen where they're on the road in Mexico and I get a call saying he can't open Outlook because he gets a message that the data file can't be opened and his OST file is corrupted. Now at that point, I can't do anything because his OST file is corrupted and he's in Mexico. I can try and do a scan PST on it or scan OST on it. It may work, it may not, but I don't consider cache exchange mode reliable at all with those large OST files.
Gotcha. Jorge says, this might be the same thing. Just a quick comment on a recent Podnutz Pro in regards to how to see how big your email database is. Is that what we just did? A quick and easy approach available in Outlook is to simply click on the folder sizes option available on the bottom left. Once you click here, you will see the size of your entire email database and the size of each folder. One thing I would love to see is the ability to sort and export, to see if the ability to sort and export results, but such option is not available through Outlook. Exchange 2003 allows you to export the entire email database sorted by size or whatever field you want into a spreadsheet. I use that utility on a regular basis in order to get some sort of feedback on who's abusing our system. That's from Jorge.
Cool.
Thank you, Jorge.
Everyone abuses the system, by the way. So.
This is from Mick. He says, hello, Steve, Matt, and Lalo. I absolutely love the show. He says it in huge letters you can see right there.
Awesome.
He goes, when I grow up, I want to be Matt Rainey.
Man, that's a compliment right there.
Wow.
Sure is.
That is. Thank you.
I am a company of one specializing in on-site support for small businesses with 5 to 25 employees. Just like Matt, I have to deal with stupid users on a daily basis. But I also do all the invoicing, ordering, telephone answering, and researching that Matt has the luxury of having employees handle. That is why I say I want to be just like Matt. I want to grow my company to the point where I can add another tech or two and an office person. Hopefully, if I keep my nose to the grindstone, I will get there one of these days. Unfortunately, when my company has grown to the point where I can hire employees, I fear that I will spend a lot of my time managing people and blowing noses instead of what I really like to do, fixing workstations and servers. Matt and Lalo mentioned 2 different appliances on show number 19, Outlook and Exchange files, Barracuda, and an email archiving appliance. Could you please provide the vendor names or links for these products? Matt mentioned that there are vendors selling remanufactured Barracuda spam filters. There was also a mention of an email archiving appliance that would replace local Outlook-based PST/archive files. I would be very interested in looking into these products. He says, I also have a question for a future show regarding user domain passwords. I frequently log into user domain workstations to perform maintenance tasks. I could log into that workstation as the domain admin, but doing so creates several problems. 1. Users never pay attention to the username box when logging into the domain. If I log on as an admin and log out, admin will show in the username box the next time a user logs into that workstation. The user does not notice that the username login box shows admin instead of their username, and as a result, they cannot log into the domain. 2. Usually the maintenance functions, application upgrades, and application installs I perform require me to be logged in as that user, which means I need to know their password. I usually set the security policy to require that users change their passwords every 6 months, so I have to bug the users to keep me updated on their current password. How do Matt and Lalo handle the situation? Thanks again for producing such a high-quality show. I learn a lot when I listen to each show, and in fact, regularly re-listen to past shows while I'm driving to my next call. That's from Mick from Digital Works Consulting, LLC. Thanks a lot for the email, Mick. I totally appreciate it, and I'm sure the guys do too.
Yep, thanks.
Yep. That's a long email, but we'll address each one of those real quickly.
Yes.
If you keep working and you do good work, you will get to that point where you can have more, your business will grow to where you do need more techs. And I find the biggest help is actually the full-time receptionist office people, because that frees you from those tasks.
Yeah.
To do more what you want. But you will go through bad techs. When you hire techs, you will get bad ones. But you've got to remember when you're the boss, it's hard to fire somebody. It really is, because as soon as you hire them, especially in a small shop, you get to know them. You might meet their family, and when you fire, it's the hardest thing you have to do to let somebody go. But you can't keep somebody around who's going to damage your business that you've spent years trying to grow.
Right. Right.
So it's hard, but be prepared. It's going to happen. Eventually, when you get a good tech, treat them well or her well. Keep them around and let them grow with you. So that's how you do that.
Exactly. And when you hire folks, when I did have a team and I was allowed to hire folks, I would always ask them questions that I would always ask them questions for situations I would deal with on a daily basis, not the easy ones. When I go for a job interview, I get insulted when they ask me, how do you find an IP address? Or what's the command? No. Ask them questions, troubleshooting questions that you can have a conversation and know, okay, this guy can solve a problem. Because a tech, when you hire a tech, you want one thing to be for sure, that this guy or girl can solve a problem, has troubleshooting skills. And also, I would hire folks on the company policy, like the first month for like a probation. So it gave me time to kind of feel them out and see if I wanted to keep them or not.
Good.
Yeah, you definitely got to make sure that's clear, that there's a probationary time. Definitely, because that way you can easily kind of let them go.
I want to see that. I want to see the interviews that you go to where they ask you how to find an IP address, and you get insulted and stand up and say, "I'm out of here."
No, but I mean,
I'm just kidding.
I mean, that's stuff that a 12-year-old knows how to do.
Well, and that's not helpful for that's not going to say anything. So
now, most of the time, the people who are asking you that question is the HR guy that read a script. They're not the techie guy.
Right.
Excuse me. What I used to do when I used to work at Best Buy, back before the Geek Squad days, the black shirt and the yellow gold, I used to walk inside a room. I used to take a modem and I used to break it in half. And I would put it on the desk. And this was my icebreaker. I said, okay, I need to make a phone call real quick, see if you can fix that modem for me. So I would walk away with a modem, a card broken in half,
Right.
and I would come back, and most people had a good sense of humor about it, and then some people were actually trying to put it back together. So
Did anybody try soldering it?
no, because I didn't give him a tool, but that was just an icebreaker because it told me a lot about the personality.
Right,
So
right. That's pretty cool.
that, and I found it hilarious.
And then you had to buy all these modems for Best Buy now.
No, because they're bad. Next question.
All right. Yeah, he had a couple of points here. Why don't we
Yeah.
continue on then?
One thing real quick. When we get a new tech, I don't do it too much now because I let my other techs do it. I have hard drives that I've taken apart, remove the insides, put it back together with the stickers on it, and then tell them, hey, check this hard drive out. It doesn't work. Can you figure out what's wrong with it?
But there's like no platters.
Yeah, right. There's nothing inside of it.
That's
It
right.
was kind of light.
All right. What else did he say? He said talked
Okay,
about
he wanted to know
applying-
about the remanufactured Barracuda spam
Yes.
filters. That's at barracudapro.com. And they have I've dealt with them a few times. They're good if your Barracuda spam filters out of warranty. They're good for service work. They have remanufactured, rebuilt devices for a lot cheaper than new. And they'll sell those with a service plan or a warranty that they warranty. They add more RAM. They add a better processor. They've actually, it's in a lot of cases better than the one you can get from Barracuda because it's beefed up, better processor, more RAM. So
And
Barracuda
they're obviously
Pro,
not spending money on a web designer, so they have extra money to burn as far as what else they're going to do here. So that's where you're getting some of your savings.
yes, I'm not recommending them for web design, but
They have
they
a
are
counter
good
on the bottom.
source. They are a good source for the
Yeah,
Very
I'm sure they are. Sure they are. Some nice guys.
But I tell you what, I bet you these people get no spam.
That's right. That's right.
Sorry, that's a poor joke.
All right. I thought it was funny.
the archiver. We use right now GFI Mail Archiver. So just do
Okay.
a search in Google for GFI Mail Archiver,
Okay.
and that's what we use right now.
All right.
Stuff out, and we have a lot of clients on that as well.
Username box question. Remember that one?
Yeah. The way I handle it is, well, first, we don't keep all the passwords for all the companies we support. So if I need to log into them as them, I just say, what's your password? They give me the password, I'm done. And when I'm done with the computer, I'll log in as that user if I haven't already, then log out. So their username is still in the box because that username field is going to show the last person who logged in successfully. If you just logged in as administrator, logged out, and then changed the username field to Mary, well, in a little while, it's going to go back to administrator if you don't log in. So when needed, I'll just log in as them and then log out. If that's not possible, it happens. They say, I can't log in. And they call. And really, if I feel like it, depending on who they talk to, if they talk to me, I'll say, did you check your username? Oh, no, that's the problem. Okay, and it's done. But it's going to happen. There's really no way around that. Unless you have a policy that you never leave the last username, because you can do group policy where you just take that out.
That's what I was going to say. The problem that you're describing is going to happen. And it happens to me on a daily basis until this day. The networks that would administer what Matt's saying, I will go inside group policy and say, don't ever show the last person logged in. So then what happens is when they get accustomed to type in their username every single day, and then you never have that problem. But again, some people don't like that, but it all depends on the environment that you're in. So
if you set up the network from scratch, this is a new network, or if you move to a new server, a new domain, that's the perfect time to implement that. You just say it's a new security feature of the new server. You have to type it in every time.
Yes, and then the companies I do that already had an infrastructure, I would tell them it's a security feature, and then they go, well, why? I say, because in order to log into a bot, there's two parts to the equation: the username and password. If you already have the username populated, then half the battle's won. And then they go, you're right. It works, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it does. And it's not hard. If you leave that username in there, I can go to almost any client's office and ask 50 of them, which username? Half of them won't know, even though it's just their first name. People call, what's my username? What's your name? Mary. Did you try Mary?
No, don't talk about her like that.
Hey.
Okay, not Mary.
Me, me and Mary are officially dating. I wanted to bring that out. So,
But it's amazing how they don't even think to try their first name.
No, it's
They'll
true.
say things like, I tried everything I could think of. Really? Did you think of your first name?
very true. Very true.
Well, I didn't try that. Okay.
Yeah, or I often say, and what's your email address? Because a lot of times when it's changed, in most cases, your
Username is the
right
beginning of the email address.
is the same. So I'm like, put your email ID. Yeah, I mean, people are gonna forget. I'm sorry. I wish there was a way, but people are just gonna forget.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think the best solution is just to have it not show, or if possible, log in as that user and then log out.
Touché.
So,
Okay. Let me read one more here.
Wait, and he had one last question on the bottom.
you did?
Yeah, about the that I wanted to address. What's
The maintenance functions they perform require to be logged in as a user, which means they need to know their password. I usually set the security policy to require users change their password every 6 months. That one?
yes?
How do you handle that situation? So I always have to bug the users to keep me updated on their current password.
Oh, I wouldn't do that. I would just well, it's different if you're a network admin on site as opposed to when they call me for help, the user calls me. I at that point ask them, what's your password?
Right.
So I don't have to worry about getting to them. And if I need to, I'll reset a user's password if I have to. If they call me and tell me my password's password 123 and it doesn't work and they're not reachable, I just reset the password 123. And when they call me a day later saying they can't log in and I ask them, what password are you using? And they'll say hot dog. I say, well, that's not what you told me yesterday. You told me password 123. Did you try password 123? Well, no, that's not my password. I said, are you sure? Did you try it? Oh, it works. Okay.
It's awesome.
So
What did you want to say on this one, Lalo?
No, because I guess I misunderstood the question. I took it as he installs an application as to run under a user account, and they change the password, and it goes kind of the wacky. So, but I misunderstood your question. So forgive me. But what I would do, I would create an AD account, call it something obscure, and I would give it just enough rights to install software. So when I would write scripts or batch file, I would use that user account. I mean, I would embed the password where it wasn't include attached, so nobody freak out. But I would use that install the user or Bob to install all of the applications, and that way I'm not using the administrator account. Again, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm taking an account on the network and giving it enough rights to do enough damage, install software, whatever the case may be, and no one knows what that user account and password is.
Gotcha. Thanks, Lalo.
You're welcome.
Actually, that's it for the emails. So,
Oh, we had one more that someone had. I don't have my powerful laptop look in front of me because it's invisible. But
I probably went through me too, right? Did it go straight to you?
yeah, but I forwarded it to you and Matt and my mom, but my mom got it.
What? Can you give me some keyword? I'll do a Google search for it right now because I'm sure I have it. I don't know why I didn't mark it. When was it today or?
this was from Jim.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I can say it real quick. It's no biggie. What Jim had emailed me about was, for some reason in his environment, when someone logs into the domain, it takes forever to log in.
I have the email if you want me to read it.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so the original email says, Mr. Nunez.
Yes. But notice he did not say he wanted to grow up and be like me, so I was kind of disappointed.
I was going to add that in. Okay, I have a client running SBS 2003 and using Exchange for email. The workstations are running XP on powerful desktops. When the clients log on to the domain, it takes several minutes, 3 to 5, to load their personal settings and display the desktop. Do you have any suggestion on what I might try to speed up the login process? Thanks so much for all you do. Podnutz Pro is the best. From Jim. So Lala replied back asking, do you have any login scripts executing for each user? Or are you using roaming profiles? Is your DNS set up properly? So that's what he asked Jim. Jim replied back. We're going to have the whole string. Okay, user account property, and I'm not sure, Lala, I have to see if you understand this. In the user account properties, this is in regards to do you have login scripts. In the user account properties under the profile tab, the login script is login.cmd. are you using roaming profiles?
Okay. Real quick,
Okay.
for that first question, your script. I've been in environments where I misproperly wrote a script. Surprise, surprise. And then what I would do is take line by line, open up a command prompt, see if you can execute line by line. What I would find out if there was a line where I had mistyped something, I put the wrong IP address, and it would hang there. 9 times out of 10, I corrected that one line, the login script worked, and I was back to normal. So regarding the login script, that's what I would check.
Okay.
So in this, what I would probably do is just to check that is take the login script out of one user, log in without the login script, see if it runs faster.
True.
The next question, are you using roaming profiles? So he says in system properties, user profiles, settings, 2 of 7 user accounts show roaming under type. In practice, the users log on only to their assigned workstations. Oddly, only 7 of 12 active user accounts appear in the list in system properties.
Okay, in the system properties user profiles, 2 out of 7 user accounts show roaming under type. I will tell you, if you're using roaming profiles, if you can, stop it.
Yes, stop it.
Because no good can come out of it. Just stop it. If you want to go home and enjoy your life, stop using roaming profiles. Roaming profiles is a beautiful idea, and at times, if you tweak it just right and you're not connected to any other, it works great, but it's just always got issues. So, in practice, the users log on only to their assigned workstations. If they're only logging into their assigned workstations, there's no need for roaming profiles to begin with, if I understand that right. Oddly, only 7 of the 12 active user accounts appear in the list and system. I don't know what that means. Sorry.
Well, what I think he might mean is if he goes into server management,
okay,
and you go to users, you'll see some users in here. Now, if the user is not created using the add a user wizard that we talked about a few shows back,
okay,
it might not show up in here. Where they're probably showing up is if you went to Active Directory users and computers,
okay,
they're probably in there in a different OU, not in the SBS users OU. So they're probably look under Active Directory users and computers. The accounts are probably in there.
True.
And yes, get rid of roaming user profiles. They are terrible.
Okay, then the last thing about this is your DNS set up properly.
So he says on the Active Directory domain server, the preferred and only DNS entry is its IP address and it points to itself. So that's good. The workstations are configured with static IP addresses. The preferred DNS is set to the IP address of the domain server. 2 alternate entries are set to the DNS addresses of the internet service provider.
Okay.
So you don't need those other public IP DNS servers.
Yes.
Definitely take those out.
And what stands out at me jumping like a hot Mexican jumping bean is why are you not, like Matt had mentioned in an email to me, DHCP? Is there a reason why you're not using it? I don't know why you wouldn't be using DHCP, but that'd be the way to go. But if you are doing static for whatever reason, if the first entry is pointing back to the domain controller but the server, and then that's how it should be set up.
Cool.
Yes, take those out of the So yeah, the forwarders. The only place you should have public IPs for DNS or in the forwarders for DNS. That's the only place. So between those 3 things, remove the login script, see if it makes a difference. Get rid of roaming user profile, see if that makes a difference. And first thing, definitely get rid of those public DNS addresses. That's the first thing.
Not that you have mentioned this, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know what the name of your domain is. Some people like to put, lalo.com as their local domain. And if you do have that preferred, if you do have the secondary DNS as a public IP, it's gonna think it's the website or outside of your a local network, and that might cause issues. But like Matt's saying, just use the local domain server and don't use roaming profiles. I think I'm going to add that in every solution I ever say.
Okay.
And when you're troubleshooting these slow boot ups, it's different depending on if it's slow before you get to the login screen or if it's slow after you log in applying computer settings. And I'm pretty sure from his email, it's slow after they log in to display the desktop, because those can be two completely different reasons of why it's slow.
Right, and then you didn't mention this but I'll just throw it out there. If you are using group policy, check your group policies. I think if you do rsop.msc, I think off the top of my head, it'll show you what group policy that's saying is stuck. But you might not be doing that, so don't worry about it.
Awesome. Thank you both. Anything else?
One quick thing. I don't know how many people run across this. I had something I've never had happen today. I was creating the user account, and they just wanted this account. It's a medical office. And I said, what do you want the username to be? And it's just for a temp account. She went to the standard things. Can I name a guest? No, can't do that. How about temp? No, I don't like that either. She said, how about PRN? I said, okay, PRN, that's fine. I create the user account, and I get an error message. Can't create account. I thought, well, that's strange. And I did this through the add a user wizard. So I created the user. They didn't need email. So I went to Active Directory and created the account. It created fine. But the user couldn't log in. When you would log in, it would say can't create profile, or loading a temp profile, can't create profile. Do you know what the problem was? Right now, Lalo or Steve, whoever.
Let me see. So you PRN, and it said, can I create account? But you went to AD user and computers and created.
And created the account. And then when logging in, it authenticated. It just couldn't create a profile. So it was loading a temp profile, like you see when the profile's corrupted.
Right. And then you get a fresh new desktop with the standard.
So
did you have to unjoin it and rejoin the box to the domain?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Try and create a folder on your computer named PRN. You're gonna get an error.
Really?
Yes. It is a reserved name.
For what?
You can't create a folder named in Windows COM, PRN, LPT1 through LPT9, and COM1 through COM9. They're reserved system names. It just so happened she picked PRN, which is some kind of medical thing that you can't create a folder called PRN.
What are the odds of that? I'm gonna name my kid PRN on purpose.
It's gonna ruin his life.
Screw it. I said no one can ever rename you, son.
And we have clients that all of their user yeah, right. You can't ever log in anywhere. All of our user accounts
That would suck.
We have clients who only have initials for their user accounts. And I'm just waiting for somebody to come in with the initials PRN, and I'll be ready. But I had to do a Google search. I did it on the computer, it wouldn't work. And then I tried to do it on my computer, it wouldn't work. A quick Google search shows why you can't do it. But I was thinking, but this is strange. I can't create a I'm thinking something wrong with my computer, but it's happened on their computer too. But yeah.
See, I would never Google search the username PRN. I mean, did you actually put that in your search?
I think I did a Google search for folder named PRN or something like that.
Okay.
Because when it couldn't create the PRN, I knew it was trying to create a folder named PRN for the profile.
Right.
That's why I tried to create a PRN.
Oh, okay. Under
folder.
documents and settings or under users.
Yeah.
I got you.
So that's why I tried to do that.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I was thinking, why can't I create a folder named PRN? But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I like that. So there's a handful of things that you can do. I think it's I know PRN, COM, and there's a few. I know it's LPT1, LPT9, COM1 to COM9. So you just can't do it. Don't try.
Don't even try.
Actually, try. It's pretty funny. It just goes back to new folder. Like, I know I typed that in right. Null is one. NUL. Null is one. That you can't do. So I've never run across that. I've been doing this for. I didn't even think about printer. I see some people in the chat got it right.
Right.
Got it right away. Printer, but didn't even dawn on me when I'm trying create a user for a temp account who wants to RDP access to 3 computers because they never know which one they're going to use. The last thing on my mind was why a PRN relating to printer.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It added about 3 minutes to my user account creation.
All right, well, we just about covered everything today, so I want to thank everybody for watching, listening, streaming, downloading. Matt, what would you like? Any last comments? Anything you want to plug or anything?
Anything I want to plug? No, listen to Podnutz.
Okay.
Leave reviews in iTunes for all the Podnutz shows.
And even if you don't, yeah, definitely check out Lalo's videos. And even if you don't leave a review in iTunes, just write that click that they're very helpful. Well, yeah, because you have the option to do that. Like for example, on all the Twit shows that I go into in iTunes, anytime they bash on Sarah Lane, I always click that review is helpful. Oh. So just follow my lead. Lalo, how about you?
Sarah Lane's hot. First of all, because that just bothers Steve. I see smoke coming from his head right now. It's awesome. Check out Let the Videos Better, PCTech.com. I am redoing them. I got bigger and better equipment. I got scripts they're working a little bit differently. They're less code. It's faster. I am doing them. And if you buy the videos today, you'll get the upgrade for free. And then at some point, once I'm done, I'll do a cutoff point, and then they'll be
more expensive.
Yeah, probably
expensiver.
Because what I've done, I've polled all the people that have bought the videos and said, "What do you want to see?" And I got an overwhelming response to that. That's I'm working on right now, and my dogs are getting upset because I don't play with them because I'm on my PC, so they're gonna disown me.
Yeah, my cats are the same way.
So watch the show and go to iTunes, leave a good review. Again, send the show emails if you have any questions. I think today was very informative in many ways.
I do too.
My next dog would be named PRN.
Hopefully you guys felt the same way as well. And again, I want to thank all you guys for listening to us, watching us, and whatever you're doing. Thanks again, and that's going to be it for Podnutz Pro for this week. See you next time.
Awesome. Good show, man.
Hey, so you didn't make the announcement, Steve?
Oh, no, let me make... I'm going to put it in the audio, but I want to just make sure... I want to word it properly.
Okay.
I have to run into the bathroom real quick. I will be right back.
The announcement?
That's not the announcement,
no,
people.
I know.
Actually, that was the announcement for tonight.
I'm actually pregnant.
Okay.
I'm 2 months pregnant.
I had a whole bunch of interesting things to talk about, but I wanted to bump the remote administration up since we were asked specifically about that.
No, that definitely was a good topic. I mean, like the thing is, as everybody in the chat room probably knows, you can go into so many topics. I mean, you got licensing, you got user account creation, you got group policy. I mean, it's just, this show can run for like 12 years and still not cover all the topics, I think.
Yeah, because then you get new stuff and new server coming out. Yeah, there's always weird things going on.
And and what the beauty of this is, when I talk to other network admins, I used to work for a company that was a sister. We had 32 sister companies, so I would talk to the other network admins. I'd be like, you know what? I never thought about doing that. Each person has a different way of doing it, not right or wrong, but it's funny how different folks have stuff that you never thought about doing before. So and that's the beauty about networking. There is no one way. There is a wrong way, but there is no one way of doing something. So
I had an interesting job. It's still going on. I might bring up one day, but did I talk about this? The doctor moving offices.
I don't know. I forget.
I had a meeting with them, and they are getting this big machine, scanner, camera for humans, and it's got to have a network. It's got to have a VPN back to the parent company for support.
Okay.
And I went to the meeting last week, and we're trying to determine where the cables are being run because they need access. And they said it's got to have a VPN connection. And we're going over where they want cabling run. And I said, well, you've got this device going here, this one going here. Where does it connect to the network? And the guy they sent to the meeting didn't really know what was going on. He said, well, I don't know. That's what they told me. I said, well, none of this connects to the network. So how can you have a VPN to it? So we had to call 1 million people right there. Finally, I found out what we're supposed to run cabling to, and what he said was completely wrong about where the cable needs to be ran. So we got that straightened up, where the cabling's going to go. And then they said, well, we need to do the VPN. I said, that's fine. The circuit's not going to be in until this date. And I gave him the date. He said, that may be too late. And I said, too late? Too late for what? I'm not sure. I don't understand that. He said, well, I'll check. I said, okay, you check.
Check what? If there's no circuit,
I'm not sure.
There's no VPN.
Yeah. So he emails me and he says, yeah, that date's too late. We need you to do it earlier. And I said, well, I'll be happy to do it earlier. And this is the vendor. I said, I'm only doing what my client told me to do. You need to schedule this with her. I'm available whenever.
Right.
But there's no circuit there, and the circuit's not going to be installed until that date. So the date I gave you was the first date I was told the circuit would be live. And so he checks with his people, and he replies back, and he just says, yes, that's too late. I'm thinking, well, my reply was, because we have been emailing back and forth, he just keeps saying it's too late, it's too late, it's too late. So I reply back saying, I'm not sure why he's saying it's too late, and he's carbon copying like 20 people, I mean, a bunch of people.
Oh, I hate that.
Because everybody's trying to be in the loop, but nobody really knows anything. So I asking him, what do you mean it's too late? Is there some timeline we're not aware of? And he basically came down to, well, the guys are coming from New York to install this machine, and they have to have the internet connection, and they have to have the VPN set up. So I said, well, as far as I know, the circuit's not going to be in until this date, which is 2 weeks after you are wanting to come install this. I said, I can't schedule anything different. That's the client, between the client and you. But it seems perhaps the installation of the VPN is not too late. The installation of your equipment is too early. I never heard back from him.
See, and that's what I never got from people. If you've ever tried to put a circuit in a building, like especially if you're expanding, it's not something that they can do like the week after. I mean, there's planning. I mean, there's, like the earliest I think I ever got a circuit in was like 30 days. And I was like really pushing it.
And this is a brand new hospital. So there's a lot of stuff going on in there.
Right.
So I don't think they want the circuit up by Monday, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Is it a fractional a T1 or is it full T1? What is it?
It's just a cable connection, but I don't think it's going to happen because they didn't call for it till yesterday. I've never known Cox to get a circuit live from initial request in less than a couple days.
Hey, Steve had a breaking news that is going to break my heart. Is it true?
What?
About a Sterling?
No. Jerry in the chat room said, didn't she get fired? And for a moment, I was elated.
Jumping for joy over there.
And then it was just bad information. I don't know where he thought of that. But, here's somebody that will always cheer us up.
Me and Sarah Lane in a Waffle House. My dream date.
Sarah Lane is... Hey, you want to put Sarah Lane's picture there instead of her?
Oh, that'd be awesome. Can she be married, Steve?
No.
Come on.
There's only one Mary, and you're looking at her.
Yes.
That is definitely Mary. See, maybe a little too much makeup on the eyes there. Are they polarized glasses? I can't tell.
Just going fishing. I don't really watch any of the Twitch stuff anymore. I had to cut back on my podcasts, and Twit was the one that got cut.
Yeah, what do you watch or listen to?
Well, I do listen to Windows Weekly. That's the only one left from Twit that I listen to.
Yes.
And that one I'm about to cut too because it's more Windows Phone 7 Weekly.
Yeah.
Than Windows Weekly.
They lost their way a little bit. But
yeah.
What do you listen to?
What do I listen to? Let me see. Some Mac podcast. Mac OS Ken. This is the daily Mac news.
Yeah, I used to listen to him.
Typical Mac user. I don't even know because for some reason that's not on my phone. Mac Geek Gab.
Mac Geek Gab. That's good. What's your favorite one?
My favorite one. It's one of the Podnutz shows.
No, I mean, because I want to listen to some. I'm looking for some pretty good shows.
Well, for the Mac stuff, I like. Well, see, Mac Geek Gab is pretty good for troubleshooting tips. It's not like a lot of. They don't do news. So news stuff, typical Mac user, or there's one. Shoot, I can't think of the name. It's not typical Mac. I do listen to typical Mac user, but there's one I can't remember the guy's name.
Victor something?
Yeah, I listen to his too, but I might have to cut that one too. Is that the Maccast?
I don't know.
No, Maccast. I listen to Maccast. A lot of it's just redundant. The Mac Roundtable, I had to cut that one.
Yo, oh, go ahead. So it's all Mac basically.
Well, the Windows Weekly and the Podnutz stuff.
Oh, good.
And during football season, ESPN Football Today.
Cool. Thanks, man.
But
Josh says here in the chat room, Steve C, I heard in Nuts at Night in '88 when Steve D was talking about polarized glasses. Then he went back to Nuts at Night 40 something, and Steve D brought it up the same way before.
Did he?
That's what he says, according to Josh.
Man, Josh, you are on the ball.
That's great. You gotta tell him that. Email him that. And I think Sarah Lane's on vacation. I do think that. So maybe that's why they're saying it's not the same without Sarah.
Hopefully she's in Florida.
Now, it sucks because there's another Sarah Lane who apparently is, if you ever watched Black Swan, is the real ballerina that does all of Natalie Portman's moves. And she's all bent out of shape because the movie companies are giving Natalie Portman more credit for the scenes than the girl who actually did the dancing, and her name's Sarah Lane. So whenever I type Sarah Lane sucks into Google, that's all that comes up is the other Sarah Lane. So I'm really upset about that. Anyway. I'll stop ripping on Sarah Lane.
Wait, how often do you type in Sarah Lane sucks on Google?
Once a day, probably.
Somebody to be
Once a day.
No, usually I have like my iPad, like before I go to bed, like.
You just type in Sarah Lane sucks.
No, not just that.
No.
But that's becoming part of my regimen because I want to listen to TNT again. I'm just waiting for her to go away so I can listen to TNT again.
Matt, I bet you he signed up for a Google alert. Sarah Lane sucks, so it automatically emailed to him on a daily basis.
I should. I didn't. I will do that. See, Jerry says Sarah Lane's voice really gets to me. It does. It's grating and dumb. Her voice is grating and unintelligent. Podnutz, get away, Podnutz Pro.
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now. I watch Loaded. That's just a little 3-minute thing every day.
Is that Natalie Del Conte?
Well, now she goes by Natalie Morris.
Oh, that's right, Natalie Morris.
Natalie Del. But she's actually leaving the show at the end of the month. Or end of May, or end of April, she's leaving the show.
Good. She's Sarah Lane-esque. I mean, these girls, no doubt, they're cute, but I have yet to see a girl blow me away with her knowledge. I have yet to see that, and I know that they're out there. So, if you see them, tell them that they could work for Podnutz.
Cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah. She's not cute like Mary.
So you don't like what's that girl's name on Twit? She's on once in a while.
No, Claudia said Amber, right? Amber. It's not McCarthy, is it? Is that her new name? It's Amber Mac. Is it McCarthy?
What's that girl on Twit that because she comes on with the blonde? She comes on once in a while.
Amber.
She's on. No, good Amber. That's somebody new.
No, Amber's been on Twit forever.
Amber.
Don't act like you've never heard of Amber on Twit. She's been there since the beginning.
What does she do?
She was doing Net at Night, they called it, and then she was even a call for help.
I don't listen to that.
Oh, you're talking about Becky Worley.
Becky Worley, yeah, you don't like her either?
No.
She's commercial.
Yeah, very commercial, name droppy.
Yeah, well.
I could picture being in a room with her and being very annoyed with her.
Who?
Becky Worley. You know what? I don't mean to bash on these people that you keep bringing up, but like I said, I have yet to hear a girl that really knows her stuff.
You and Caldwell. Oh, my friend. You and Caldwell.
I'm not trying to make enemies here. I'm just stating a fact, and I want to be proven wrong. I want to be proven wrong. Nobody went up to Caldwell and said, yes, I could drive a truck better than you. By the way, I emailed Caldwell and asked him to be on Nuts at Night. No response.
Really?
Yes.
I'm going to call him right after the show.
All right.
In fact, I'm going to call him. Oh, my phone's over there.
When we go to CES, Steve, we need to take a trip up to the Twit Cottage and go watch some Twitch shows live. So I want to get a picture with you and Sarah.
I told Steve, when we go to Vegas, I told him, if I see Sarah Lane, I'm doing a personal one-on-one Podnutz official interview. and I'm taking a few pictures. Probably give her.
No, you said you were going to propose to her, didn't you?
Oh damn, I will. Good call, Sarah. Hey, if you're watching, I'll be in Vegas, January.
Matt, I was at the cottage.
Yeah, that's right. Did you meet Sarah?
No, she wasn't there then. Dude, listen to this. Listen to this. This will blow you away. This will blow you away. I'm sitting there. Leo's doing the tech guy, and the commercial comes on. So Leo's talking to me, and there's another guy there. And he goes, you know, I'm thinking about bringing Sarah Lane on. You know, she's good at this, and she's great at production and stuff. And I just sat there quietly. And I didn't say anything. I had an opportunity, Matt. I had an opportunity to nip this in the bud.
Could have prevented the whole thing.
I could have prevented the whole